now we're going to be working with shapes, and shapes are a great thing that we can do with Photoshop CC. We've been able to do it with all the others as well, but they did change quite a bit when we went from CS5 to CS6. The latest version being CC has everything all in one place, and I'll show you what that means. I'm just going to quickly draw a shape. Now on the right hand side, when you see it appear, you have just one layer. In the previous versions you actually had the colour plus the actual sort of vector mask, which is the shape, the actual shape. If I double click on that, I get to change the colour, and we'll look at that in a moment. Now another thing I want to show you is this. If I zoom right in to the edge, look how crisp that is, it's perfect. In the older versions we used to have problems with interpixels, so the actual shape would be in between 2 pixels and we have like a grey bar around here. This has been solved, and we do that by going Photoshop, Preferences and General. If you're on a PC, go to Edit and Preferences. Now the thing in CC that makes it a lot easier is this one, Snap Vector Tools to Transform and Pixel Grid. Sounds very complex, but just know that you have it turned on to make sure that your shapes are perfect. Let's get going on making our own rectangles. So I'm just going to do Control and minus, and I just press delete on that one there. So we should be at the same place now. Now we've got our file open. Right, so let's zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to make a nice rectangle here. Now to make sure yours is as mine, we need to have the rectangle tool selected. We can do it the boring way and click on here and select rectangle tool, or we can press U. Now sometimes U has you selecting, I don't know, maybe circle, if that was the last thing you did. So what we do is be able to cycle through it. So if we want to go to rectangle, press Shift and then U. And that's the same for any tool on the toolbar. Shift and the toolbar shortcut key cycles through all of the options. So now, there we go, got a rectangle. Now all we need to do is drag and drop. There's one rectangle. Now we might need to change a few things. You might have like a stroke around the side of it. So let's change that now. Click on Fill, and you can change the fills here, and we're going to look at that in some detail later. And also the stroke, I'd like you to turn that off by clicking on the left one here. The next thing we need to make sure is, if you have only a line here and there's nothing that's appeared, it's probably because of this. Click on here and make sure that New Layer is selected. If you've had that problem, just delete what you've just made and then start to draw it again. So to delete it, just highlight it with the layer, press delete, U, and then O again. Don't you just love shortcuts? Alright, now the next thing we want to do is a square, a perfect square. Now to do that I need to click that dragging, then hold down Shift. Holding down Shift will make sure that the aspect ratio remains the same. Let go of your mouse first and then Shift. And let me show you what happens if you don't do that. So, if I hold down Shift first, I get this. I get a perfect square, but it's on the same layer, not what we want. So I'm just going to do Edit and Undo. And the thing we don't want you to do is this. Click and drag, perfect. And then if I let go of Shift first, zoink, not perfect. So make sure you let go of your mouse first and then Shift. So now we're going to do a rounded rectangle. To do that, let me just hide this for a second. To do that, I'm going to click and hold on here and select rounded rectangle. Or you can press Shift and U until you see the rounded rectangle on the top left hand corner. Now what we're going to do is we'll change the color as well. Alright, we're just going to click and drag. Now you can see the curve around the sides. If I let go, right, I draw it. So let me just delete that. If I make that a lot more, like say 100, you can see it's very curved. Alright, so the radius on the top right hand corner of your screen up here controls how curvy your rectangle is. And for now we're just going to do as a 10 pixel curve, and this is good for like buttons. Now the next thing we're going to do is a nice little ellipse. To do that, all we need to do is click and hold again, select our ellipse tool, and then we're just going to drag it. But this time when we let go, we want to change the colour. So what I'm going to do is move over here to the ellipse tool. Now if you have CS5, you'll see two things here. You'll see a colour and you'll see a shape. Double click on a colour. For CS6 and CC, then we can do something else. So what we need to do is just double click, and that will bring up the colour, and I can guess, if I just move this over like that, I can guess at the grey, or watch the very clever. You move over and click. Look at that. Think of beauty. Alright, so click OK, and you can select any colour when you're in the colour picker tools. Next thing we want to do is a perfect circle. Now, I'm going to click, I'm going to hold down Shift, alright, and then you can see it's a perfect circle. So that Shift is very, very handy. Let go. Now the next thing we want to do is change the colour of this. So double click, select red, click OK, finger beauty. Brilliant. Next thing we're going to do are custom shapes. So let me just show you what those look like. We've got a pin and we've got a speech bubble. Now custom shapes, you can add more of them, and that's a really cool thing. So we're just going to move over down here and we can see custom shape right at the bottom. But the thing is, we need to go top right over here, and this is where they're all listed. Now you can see here I don't have many. I want more. I'm greedy. So for example, I can't see the square speech bubble. So what I need to do is add more. So click on the little arrow here and then click all. So it's a technique, don't tell anybody. Click all and then click append. And now look what you've got. Oh yeah. And if you've got CC, you've got even more. You can actually make this a little bit bigger, and personally I like to do this large thumbnail just so you can see them a bit clearer. Okay, so now we just need to go hunting. So first of all, we're going to get the pin, very, very easy. And then again, click and hold Shift, and make it look very nice. Oh, different color, no problem. Double click, click on the color, click OK, easy peasy. Alright, and now we need to do the next one. So again, we go back to our shape layer, and we're just going to move down, and eventually we should see the one we want. So this is why I like to have them a bit bigger. They tend to be a bit easier to see. Okay, we're getting close, and there we go. Alright, so if you're doing like a Halloween one, you can do that. Okay, so again, just going to click, start holding down Shift, and there we go. Perfect. So that's shapes. So a quick little view of how you see shapes. And you'll see that once I've got a shape selected, it actually has a little line around it. Let's have a look at the grey one here. Alright, so when you see it, you can see this line around it. That doesn't show up when you're using the actual shape, but it does show that you've got it selected. And remember, Command and T if you want to make it bigger. Cool, so have fun with some shapes, and you can also install new ones like you did with brushes.